There are some films that hit us at the right age at the right time. The Right Stuff, which was made in 1983, was one of those films for me. My father was a pilot in the U.S. Air Force and he flew the RF-4, and frankly, he was and he is my hero. I grew up on Air Force bases and have many fond memories of all the various types of planes I saw flying. As a kid, I would ride my bike out to the flight line of various Air Force bases that I was living on, and I would just watch the planes take off and land, and sometimes my father was flying those planes. Pilots for me were on a pedestal, and even today I have a deep admiration for them. So when The Right Stuff came out, I was completely enthralled. The Right Stuff is a 1983 American epic biographical drama film produced and directed by Philip Kaufman, based on the 1977 nonfiction book of the same name by Tom Wolfe. The film stars Sam Shepard, Dennis Quaid, Ed Harris, Scott Glenn, Barbara Hershey, and Fred Ward. It's an incredible cast, and it tells the story of the Mercury 7, the first 7 American astronauts who were all pilots, selected by NASA in 1959. The film was a critical and commercial success, grossing over $70 million at the box office. It was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor for Sam Shepard. The film has an epic feel, but it has a unique tone that moves between true excitement to wonderful humor and then back again. For example, when Alan Shepard has to pee in his flight suit, his astronaut suit, on the flight deck of the first American manned voyage to space, we get a scene that is funny. It's frankly offensive due to a racial slur that is used, but then it moves back to this completely exciting moment as Shepard takes off. While some people might say that this flip from like comedy to drama and back again is a detriment to the film, I found it somewhat honest and something I saw in the pilots around me growing up. There was often humor mixed in with the complete danger that some of these pilots, especially test pilots, were living in. The filmmaking in The Right Stuff is exceptionally well executed. The special effects, honestly, they still hold up. And intercutting the special effects scenes with archival footage from the actual launches of different rockets, it gives the film this really cool aesthetic, and frankly, it's authentic. I think the cast might be one of the best ensemble casts of the early 1980s. Ed Harris is John Glenn, Sam Shepard is Chuck Yeager, Dennis Quaid is Gordo Cooper, Scott Glenn is Alan Shepard. There's so many others, but these guys just have this chemistry and they have charisma that actually, to be honest, it reminds me of some of the pilots that would come hang out at my house when I was a kid and that were friends with my dad. Or maybe I should put it this way, they were my idealized version of them from my experiences, which is completely possible. Some of the most captivating moments are when the potential astronauts are being tested to see if they have the right stuff to become one of the few chosen to go to space. It's harrowing, it's funny. I feel that in these sequences, Dennis Quaid especially, and even Scott Glenn, they really shine. And all the actors in the film have their moment. But it seems to me that the central question is really who has the right stuff and what does that even mean? Or maybe who is the best aviator? In a way, it's the astronauts that are those that have the right stuff. They're picked, they're chosen. They go up, they do their missions under extreme stress and danger. But the film makes us see or feel that it's not one of the original astronauts, but it's someone else. In fact, Gordo Cooper almost says it toward the end of the film. It's Chuck Yeager. He's really the best and really has the right stuff. Sam Shepard, who plays Chuck Yeager, he's revelatory in this film. He feels kind of like Gary Cooper of 40s and 50s films, like High Noon stuff and Sergeant York. I mean, he's really good. He reminds me of that. He's a throwback almost to that time period of filmmaking. There's a movie star quality that he possesses, and the other actors do too, but man, Shepard just rises to the top. And I really feel that it is Yeager's scenes, Chuck Yeager's scenes, that really are, for me at least, the most interesting scenes in the film and the most exciting parts of the movie. I would be remiss if I did not mention the film's score. It's composed by the talented Bill Conti. It's incredible. I wish I could play it, but of course, you guys know YouTube, I'd probably get flagged and the video would be taken down. The score, it's delightful. It heightens the emotional impact of the movie. The uplifting and heroic themes, they resonate perfectly with the film's themes of exploration and courage. It's a score that stays with you long after the credits roll. Upon its release, The Right Stuff received critical acclaim and was nominated for 8 Academy Awards. It won 4, including Best Sound and Best Film Editing, and it deserved those awards. Its impact on popular culture at the time, I really feel like it impacted the culture at the time, but in some ways it still endures to this day. And I think a lot of people that are making films about space exploration, I really feel like they kind of glance back to 1983's The Right Stuff to maybe get their cues or look at where the bar has been set, because it's been set pretty high. A couple of other thoughts as we start to close out this review and this look back at The Right Stuff. One of the things the film does really well is it looks at the dynamics between these pilots, these potential astronauts, and their spouses. I distinctly remember being a kid watching my mom being stressed over the things my dad was doing. In fact, one time my father's tire on his F4 came off, went through his wing, and my dad had to do emergency landing. And I remember them being like my mother and Air Force personnel coming to get me out of school because that had happened to my dad, and they took me home. And I just have this, I was young, but I have this memory of my mom being stressed out over that. The Right Stuff explores those things, I think, really well. And the wives of these pilots in the 1950s really had to go through a lot to try to not only support their husbands who were gone most of the time, but also keep the house together while those pilots were gone. I think a lot of people forget the value that mothers and wives played during this time period and even today. And The Right Stuff does, I think, a good job at portraying that. It felt honest to me, at least. If you've seen The Right Stuff, let me know what you think about the film. And if you've never seen it, my goodness, I highly recommend you check it out. As always, thanks for watching and living in the past with me.